Christianity established itself in the Eastern Mediterranean and Near East immediately following the death of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, with primary centers emerging in Jerusalem, Antioch, Alexandria, and Edessa, Mesopotamia. The earliest communities were structured around local house churches, overseen by bishops, presbyters, and deacons, following patterns attested in Pauline epistles and other New Testament writings, such as the letters to the churches of Corinth, Ephesus, and Galatia. The episcopacy in these regions became formalized by the late 1st century, with James the Just recognized as Bishop of Jerusalem and successive bishops recorded in ecclesiastical lists preserved by Eusebius of Caesarea in his Ecclesiastical History, c. 324 AD. The antique urban centers of the Eastern Roman Empire became pivotal for the development of Christian identity, liturgy, and theology. In Antioch, Christianity developed a distinctive liturgical structure, with early use of the Greek language in worship and the development of the Antiochene liturgical rite, later adapted in Byzantine forms. In Alexandria, theological schools emerged, emphasizing allegorical interpretation of Scripture, producing theologians such as Clement of Alexandria, c. 150 to 215 AD, and Origen, c. 184 to 253 AD. These schools played a critical role in shaping Christological debates, later formalized in ecumenical councils. The spread of Christianity in Mesopotamia led to the development of the Church of the East, which maintained a distinct East Syriac liturgical and administrative tradition centralized in Seleucia-Ctesiphon. This church remained in communion with neither Rome nor Constantinople during its formative centuries, preserving a unique hierarchical structure headed by the Catholicos Patriarch, whose succession is documented in ecclesiastical records. By the 4th century, the Eastern churches were firmly established, possessing eparchial structures, codified episcopal succession, and regional synodal authority, as attested in the letters of Cyril of Jerusalem, c. 315 to 386 AD, and Athanasius of Alexandria, c. 296 to 373 AD. The Council of Nicaea, 325 AD, marked a critical consolidation point. Bishops from across the eastern provinces, including Antioch, Alexandria, and Jerusalem, ratified the Nicene Creed, establishing the doctrinal foundation for Trinitarian orthodoxy. Records of episcopal signatories, preserved in Constantinopolitan and Antiochene synodical lists, demonstrate the participation of Eastern hierarchies in maintaining cohesion within the wider Christian world. Subsequent councils, including Constantinople, 381 AD, Ephesus, for 31 AD, and Chalcedon, for 51 AD, reflected the increasingly complex theological disputes regarding Christology. The Council of Ephesus, for 31 AD, addressed Nestorianism, declaring Mary as Theotokos and affirming the unity of Christ's person. Eastern bishops from Alexandria and Antioch played decisive roles in these deliberations. Following this, the Council of Chalcedon, for 51 AD, established the Chalcedonian definition, asserting that Christ exists in two natures, fully human and fully divine, without confusion or division. The Chalcedonian definition provoked division among Eastern communities. Those that accepted it, the Chalcedonian communities, remained doctrinally aligned with Constantinople and later with Rome. Those rejecting it, the non-Chalcedonian communities, evolved into the Oriental Orthodox churches, including the Coptic Syriac and Armenian Apostolic churches. The documentation of this schism is preserved in council proceedings, synodal letters, and contemporaneous historians such as Evagrius Scholasticus, c. 536 to 594 AD. During the subsequent centuries, Eastern communities under Chalcedonian influence, particularly in Antioch, Alexandria, and Constantinople, maintained liturgical diversity. The Byzantine rite evolved from the Antiochene tradition, incorporating Greek hymnography, Eucharistic formulations, and episcopal ceremonial. In Alexandria, the Coptic liturgy continued alongside Greek liturgical usage, while in Jerusalem, the Holy Sepulchre community preserved a distinctive rite associated with pilgrimage practices. These rites, meticulously documented in liturgical manuscripts, sacramentaries, and codices preserved in monastic libraries, such as St. Catherine's Monastery, Sinai, demonstrate the continuity of Eastern liturgical tradition before the establishment of Eastern Catholic churches. The 7th and 8th centuries saw the rise of Islamic rule over formerly Byzantine territories, including Syria, Palestine, and Egypt. Eastern Christian communities adapted administratively under dhimmi status, retaining their bishops, synods, and monasteries. Correspondence between Eastern patriarchates and the papacy, recorded in Vatican archives, shows ongoing ecclesiastical interactions despite political separation. These records also reveal early theological exchanges, attempts at reconciliation, and recognition of papal primacy in principle among Eastern bishops sympathetic to communion with Rome. From the 9th to 11th centuries, the Eastern churches experienced further consolidation. The patriarchates of Constantinople, Antioch, and Jerusalem regulated regional dioceses, coordinated synodal decrees, and mediated theological disputes. Historical documentation, such as the Nomocanon of Photios, c. 870 to 891 AD, provides insight into canonical legislation, episcopal jurisdiction, and liturgical regulations. Eastern Christianity preserved distinct administrative autonomy, with patriarchal synods controlling ordination, doctrinal oversight, and property management. The Great Schism of 1054 formalized the separation between the Roman and Eastern churches. While political, linguistic, and theological tensions contributed, Eastern communities that would later enter into union with Rome were already maintaining Chalcedonian orthodoxy, Byzantine rites, and structured hierarchical systems, particularly in Antioch, Constantinople, and parts of the Balkans. Documentation from correspondence between the Patriarch of Constantinople, Michael Cerularius, and Pope Leo IX, as preserved in Vatican and Byzantine records, demonstrates the administrative and theological distinctions that defined Eastern Chalcedonian practice. During the 12th to 15th centuries, Chalcedonian Eastern communities experienced both internal consolidation and external pressure from Latin Crusader states, Mongol invasions, and Ottoman encroachments. Patriarchal records, monastic chronicles, and episcopal letters provide detailed accounts of diocesan organization, liturgical reform, and theological instruction. Eastern Christian monasteries, such as Marsaba, Jerusalem, and St. Catherine, Sinai, maintained extensive archives documenting episcopal successions, liturgical codices, and doctrinal teaching, which later served as reference points for papal negotiations and unions in the 16th century. By the late medieval period, Eastern Chalcedonian communities had developed well-established rites, canonical structures, and regional identities. Episcopal succession was maintained in major sees, diocesan boundaries were clearly documented, and liturgical traditions, including the Byzantine Rite in the East, were codified in manuscripts. These structures created an ecclesial environment fully prepared for formal union with the Roman Pontiff. The historical record confirms that these communities retained distinct governance, hierarchical integrity, and liturgical practices while being doctrinally compatible with the Catholic Church's universal claims. A continuity verified in archival synodal acts, papal correspondence, and early union agreements in subsequent centuries. The 16th century witnessed the first substantial formal entries of Eastern Chalcedonian Christian communities into communion with the See of Rome, marking the historical inception of the Eastern Catholic Churches as distinct ecclesial entities. These unions were preceded by centuries of Chalcedonian tradition maintained in the Eastern Mediterranean and Eastern Europe, as documented in episcopal registers, synodal acts, and liturgical manuscripts. The earliest and most significant of these unions is the Union of Brest, 1596, which formalized the integration of the Ruthenian Orthodox Church of the Polish Lithuanian Commonwealth into the jurisdiction of the papacy while retaining its Byzantine Rite episcopal structures and canonical particularities. The Ruthenian Church, before the Union, had been organized across dioceses in Galicia, Volhynia, and Podolia, with a hierarchical system headed by metropolitans and suffragan bishops. Documentation preserved in the archives of the Metropolitanate of Kiev details the succession of bishops and the maintenance of local synodal governance, including records of ordinations and regional conciliar decrees. The ecclesial structure followed canonical regulations inherited from the Council of Chalcedon for 51 AD and subsequent synods in Constantinople, ensuring Chalcedonian orthodoxy and episcopal continuity. Negotiations leading to the Union of Brest commenced in the latter half of the 16th century. Representatives of the Ruthenian hierarchy, including Metropolitan Michael Rohose of Kiev, initiated correspondence with the Roman Pontiff, Pope Clement VIII, seeking formal recognition of communion while preserving the Byzantine Rite. The texts of these letters, extant in Vatican archives, confirm that the union was predicated on recognition of papal primacy and doctrinal conformity to the Creed of Nicaea, without requiring alterations to liturgical language, episcopal governance, or sacramental practice. The synodal acts of the Ruthenian bishops ratified the union in 1596, recording the explicit preservation of local ecclesiastical autonomy within the framework of full communion with Rome. The Union of Brest formally recognized the continuation of the Byzantine liturgical calendar, the Divine Liturgy of St. John Chrysostom, and regional liturgical usages. The ratified agreements documented the retention of episcopal election procedures by local synods, administrative oversight by metropolises, and maintenance of property and parish organization under canonical norms. The union also codified the relationship between the Ruthenian Church and the papacy. Doctrinal conformity to Roman definitions of faith and morality was required, but local governance and liturgical expression remained intact. Papal confirmation was issued through a bull of Pope Clement VIII, explicitly enumerating these privileges and obligations, and copies of this bull remain preserved in both the Vatican and Kiev archives. Concurrently, the Maronite Church in Lebanon formalized its long-standing communion with Rome. By the 16th century, this communion was institutionalized under papal oversight, ensuring the West Syriac liturgy and hierarchical independence were preserved. Papal letters, notably those of Pope Sixtus V, 1585 to 1590, and Pope Gregory XIII, 1572 to 1585, confirm recognition of the Maronite patriarchal authority and provide instructions for ecclesiastical governance, including episcopal appointments, synodal regulations, and canonical jurisprudence. These records demonstrate that the Maronite Church retained its distinctive right while formally integrating into the wider Catholic communion. The historical development of these unions demonstrates the model by which Eastern churches could retain liturgical, canonical, and hierarchical distinctiveness while entering full communion with Rome. Both the Union of Brest and the institutionalization of the Maronite communion preserve the integrity of local traditions, including sacramental formulae, liturgical languages, Church Slavonic for the Ruthenians, Syriac for the Maronites, and monastic regulations. Archival documentation indicates that the unions did not seek to impose Latin rites or administrative practices, but rather recognized the validity and sufficiency of existing Eastern canonical systems. Following the Union of Brest, ecclesiastical administration in the Ruthenian Church was reorganized under metropolitan oversight in communion with Rome. The Vatican archives record papal letters authorizing the Metropolitan of Kiev to exercise jurisdiction over suffragan bishops in Galicia and Volhynia, while maintaining synodal election procedures. Property records and diocesan registers preserved in Lviv, Przemysl, and other Ruthenian centers document the retention of monastic lands, parish endowments, and ecclesiastical revenues, confirming that local structures were preserved under canonical norms. The union also included provisions for the continued operation of seminaries and theological schools, ensuring the education of clergy in both Byzantine theology and canonical conformity with the Universal Church. In Lebanon, the Maronite Patriarchate exercised analogous structures. The Patriarch, confirmed by papal authority, presided over a synod of bishops responsible for regulating liturgical practice, ordination, and doctrinal instruction. Letters from Pope Gregory XIII and his successors established that the Maronite hierarchy was empowered to maintain its liturgical patrimony, regulate clerical discipline, and oversee monastic communities without interference in day-to-day governance. Records from the patriarchal archives of Kirk and Vatican registers detail successive patriarchal elections and synodal decrees, demonstrating continuous administrative operation within the framework of papal communion. The documentation of these unions demonstrates several key historical elements relevant to the emergence of the Eastern Catholic Churches. First, doctrinal conformity with Rome was required, confirmed in papal bulls, conciliar decrees, and synodal acts. The Ruthenian bishops explicitly recognized papal authority over questions of faith and morals, while retaining local canonical structures. Second, liturgical continuity was preserved, with Byzantine and West Syriac rites maintained in their entirety. Third, hierarchical autonomy was protected, with synods retaining authority over episcopal elections, clergy discipline, and diocesan governance. Fourth, property and institutional continuity ensured that monastic and parish resources remained under the administration of local hierarchies. These elements are extensively documented in letters, papal registers, synodal acts, and diocesan archives, forming a verifiable historical basis for understanding the first Eastern Catholic churches. In addition to these administrative and liturgical measures, The unions included provisions for communication with Rome and canonical oversight. Regular correspondence between the Ruthenian Metropolitan and the papacy, preserved in the Archivio Segreto Vaticano, illustrates ongoing consultation regarding doctrinal clarification, episcopal appointments, and canonical disputes. The Maronite Patriarch similarly maintained regular reporting to the pontiff, ensuring that papal authority was recognized while local governance remained operationally independent. These records confirm that the union was not nominal but fully institutional, establishing the model for subsequent Eastern Catholic communities. The historical significance of the Union of Brest and the institutionalization of the Maronite communion is further evident in the preservation of liturgical codices, canonical texts, and ecclesiastical registers. Manuscripts from the 16th and 17th centuries, held in Lviv, Przemysl, Kirk, and Rome, provide detailed accounts of liturgical rites, episcopal decrees, synodal proceedings, and patriarchal correspondence. These records confirm the continuity of pre-union traditions and demonstrate how ecclesiastical structures were adapted to integrate fully with the universal church without altering established practice. They also provide evidence for the continuity of Chalcedonian orthodoxy in these communities, a prerequisite for communion with Rome. The 17th century marks a critical period in the formal expansion of Eastern Catholic churches into Central and Eastern Europe, a process rooted in the Chalcedonian Christian communities established during the early and medieval centuries. Following the Union of Brest in 1596, which integrated the Ruthenian Church of the Polish, Lithuanian Commonwealth into full communion with Rome, subsequent negotiations and agreements extended the model of union to additional Orthodox dioceses in regions under Habsburg and Polish jurisdiction. This period is documented extensively through papal bulls, synodal decrees, episcopal correspondence, and diocesan registers, providing a clear chronological record of ecclesial developments. The most significant union of the 17th century was the Union of Uzhhorod, 1646, which brought a large portion of the Ruthenian Orthodox clergy in the northeastern Habsburg territories into communion with the Roman Pontiff. Historical records preserved in the Eparchy of Mukachevo archives, the Vatican secret archives, and contemporary Habsburg governmental correspondence confirm that this union included 63 priests who formally acknowledged papal authority while retaining their Byzantine liturgy, episcopal structures, and canonical customs. The union was ratified through synodal acts, which clearly delineated the terms of ecclesiastical integration, including recognition of papal primacy over doctrinal matters and the preservation of episcopal autonomy in administrative and liturgical affairs. The Union of Uzhhorod preserved the liturgical and sacramental practices of the local Ruthenian Church, including the Divine Liturgy of St. John Chrysostom, the use of Church Slavonic as the liturgical language, and the administration of the sacraments according to Byzantine rite norms. Diocesan records confirm that bishops retained authority to ordain priests, regulate parish life, and oversee monastic institutions within their eparchies. The papacy in turn issued letters confirming these rights and codifying the hierarchical relationship between the eparchies and the Metropolitan of Mukachevo, who was recognized as the chief ecclesiastical authority in the territory while operating in full communion with Rome. These documents demonstrate that the union did not impose Latin rites or administrative systems, but formally integrated local structures into the universal church while maintaining their Eastern character. In addition to the Union of Uzhhorod, smaller Orthodox communities in Poland, Slovakia, and Western Ukraine negotiated entry into communion with Rome throughout the mid-17th century. Archival materials, including episcopal correspondence preserved in the Vatican Secret Archives and the archives of the Archieparchy of Lviv, records synodal deliberations in which local bishops and priests formally accepted papal primacy while maintaining their diocesan boundaries, parish organization, and liturgical customs. The agreements clearly specified that local canonical practices, including the election of bishops by synods and oversight of monastic institutions, were to remain operational under the supervision of the metropolitan in communion with the pontiff. Property and endowments of dioceses and monasteries were safeguarded in the agreements, ensuring institutional continuity and avoiding interference with local ecclesiastical administration. The expansion of Eastern Catholicism in the 17th century occurred within a context of political and ecclesiastical complexity. Habsburg rulers, who governed large parts of present-day Ukraine, Slovakia, and Hungary, issued decrees confirming the legal status of newly united eparchies. These decrees, recorded in governmental archives, recognized the rights of bishops to oversee clergy, administer sacraments, and regulate ecclesiastical property according to canonical norms. Papal correspondence, particularly letters from Pope Innocent X and Pope Alexander VII, confirmed these legal and administrative recognitions, demonstrating that the expansion of Eastern Catholicism was both ecclesiastically and civilly sanctioned. These records provide evidence of a structured, verifiable process of union, extending the ecclesiastical framework established by the Union of Brest into new territories. Liturgical continuity remained central to the 17th century expansion. Archival evidence indicates that Eastern Catholic clergy preserved local chant traditions, Eucharistic prayers, and sacramental rites, ensuring that the distinctive spiritual and ceremonial life of the Eastern communities remained intact. Manuscripts from Lviv, Mukachevo, and Przemysl document the preparation and use of service books, lectionaries, and sacramental manuals in Church Slavonic, reflecting the preservation of Eastern liturgical identity. These documents demonstrate that, despite integration with Rome, Eastern practices were maintained in their entirety, forming a key feature of Eastern Catholic identity during this period. Administrative and hierarchical structures also remained consistent with established Eastern norms. Diocesan registers and synodal records indicate that bishops continued to exercise authority over parish clergy, monastic communities, and local theological schools. The Vatican issued letters of confirmation for bishops and metropolises, detailing their authority to convene synods, regulate clergy, and maintain canonical discipline. The integration of these structures into communion with Rome was achieved without modification to their internal governance, illustrating the principle of autonomy within the universal church, a principle subsequently codified in later centuries. The 17th century expansion also involved systematic documentation of episcopal succession. The Vatican Secret Archives and regional eparchial records preserve detailed lists of bishops entering communion, dates of consecration, and ordination of clergy. For example, the episcopal registers of the Eparchy of Mukachevo enumerate the 63 priests who initially entered union in 1646, recording their assignments, parish affiliations, and sacramental responsibilities. These registers, cross-referenced with Habsburg governmental records, demonstrate institutional continuity, and provide verifiable evidence of the ecclesiastical integration process. Historical documentation further indicates that the expansion of Eastern Catholicism included the development of educational and theological infrastructure. Seminaries and schools established under episcopal oversight provided training for clergy in Byzantine theology, canonical law, and sacramental practice. Letters from the papacy, preserved in the Vatican archives, confirm papal authorization for these institutions, emphasizing the requirement that clergy remain faithful to Chalcedonian orthodoxy while exercising their liturgical and pastoral functions in accordance with Eastern norms. These records demonstrate the establishment of a sustainable clerical infrastructure that supported the growth and consolidation of Eastern Catholic communities in newly united territories. Additionally, the expansion was accompanied by systematic preservation of property and institutional assets. Land registers, parish inventories, and monastic accounts maintained by local bishops document the transfer of church property and endowments to the newly united eparchies. Papal correspondence confirms that these properties remained under episcopal control, providing financial stability and institutional continuity. This careful documentation ensured that the newly united communities were able to maintain their ecclesiastical functions, support clergy, and sustain monastic and parish life without disruption. By the end of the 17th century, the Eastern Catholic presence in Eastern Europe had become a formally recognized, institutionally established ecclesial reality. The unions of Uzerod and other smaller communities demonstrated that Chalcedonian Eastern Christians could enter full communion with Rome while retaining liturgical, hierarchical, and canonical autonomy. Archival records from the Vatican, Habsburg authorities, and regional episcopal registers provide extensive evidence of these processes, documenting the careful integration of local ecclesiastical structures into a broader Catholic framework. These records form the historical foundation for subsequent developments in the 18th and 19th centuries, including the formal recognition of additional Eastern Catholic churches in the Balkans and Central Europe. The formal consolidation of Eastern Catholic churches in the Middle East, particularly among Chalcedonian Christian communities historically centered in Antioch, Syria, and Lebanon, occurred in the 18th century. The most historically documented development of this period was the formal recognition of the Melkite Greek Catholic Church by the Holy See in 1729, a process that solidified the ecclesiastical integration of Eastern communities while preserving their liturgical and canonical traditions. This consolidation was executed through a combination of synodal decrees, patriarchal correspondence, and papal bulls, providing verifiable documentation for the emergence of institutional Eastern Catholic structures in the region. The Melkite Church, originating from the Chalcedonian Patriarchate of Antioch, had maintained a continuous episcopal hierarchy despite political instability and Ottoman rule. Records from the Patriarchate of Antioch and contemporary Ottoman administrative documents confirm the maintenance of diocesan boundaries, episcopal succession, and clerical oversight. Before the 18th century, the Patriarchate experienced internal divisions between factions favoring alignment with the Roman Pontiff and factions maintaining Orthodox communion. These divisions were documented in letters exchanged between the patriarchs of Antioch and the Vatican, preserved in the Archivio Segreto Vaticano, which detailed debates on doctrine, hierarchy, and ecclesiastical administration. Formal recognition of the Melkite Greek Catholic Church was established under Patriarch Cyril Sixtanus, circa 1680 to 1760. His election in 1724 and subsequent confirmation by Pope Benedict XIII are documented in papal correspondence and Vatican registers. The recognition codified the principle of full communion with Rome, while ensuring the retention of Byzantine liturgical rites, episcopal election procedures, and canonical jurisdiction. Papal letters explicitly authorized the Patriarch to govern the Melkite Church, convene synods, ordain bishops, and maintain administrative oversight, all while upholding Chalcedonian orthodoxy and Eastern canonical tradition. These documents, preserved in both the Vatican and the Patriarchal Archives of Kirk, provide primary evidence of institutional consolidation. Following this formal recognition, the Melkite Church developed its hierarchical and administrative structures to ensure operational stability under both ecclesiastical and Ottoman oversight. Diocesan records document the delineation of eparchial territories in Syria, Lebanon, and Palestine, establishing clear jurisdictional boundaries. Registers of episcopal consecrations confirm succession lines, listing bishops assigned to Antioch, Aleppo, Tripoli, and Damascus. Synodal acts, preserved in the Patriarchal Archives, regulated the ordination of clergy, monastic oversight, parish administration, and liturgical practice. The Vatican maintained correspondence to ensure conformity with Chalcedonian orthodoxy and adherence to papal directives, providing a continuous administrative record of ecclesial integration. The consolidation process also involved the preservation and formalization of liturgical traditions. Manuscripts from the early 18th century, held in Kirk, Beirut, and Rome, demonstrate continuity of the Byzantine liturgical calendar, the Divine Liturgy of St. John Chrysostom, the Eucharistic prayers of St. Basil, and the lectionary structure. Eastern Catholic priests were required to adhere to these liturgical forms, which were codified in service books approved by synods and confirmed by papal correspondence. Canonical regulations reinforced the authority of bishops and patriarchs to ensure consistency of worship across the expanding network of Melkite eparchies. Monastic institutions played a significant role in the consolidation of the Melkite Church. Records from the monasteries of Balamand, Mar Yohanna, and Mar Saba detail governance structures, clerical formation, and property administration. Monastic archives include inventories of lands, donations, and ecclesiastical revenues, demonstrating the preservation of institutional property during the transition to union with Rome. Papal letters confirm that these properties remained under the jurisdiction of the Melkite hierarchy, providing both financial stability and administrative continuity for the Church's operations. In parallel, the Maronite Church in Lebanon underwent formal administrative consolidation during the 18th century. Archival evidence, including letters of Maronite patriarchs and papal bulls, confirms that papal recognition of patriarchal authority was reinforced, ensuring hierarchical independence under the oversight of the pontiff. The Maronite liturgy, codified in West Syriac service books, remained operationally intact, with diocesan registers documenting episcopal succession, parish organization, and clerical assignments. Vatican correspondence specifies the maintenance of canonical jurisdiction, synodal authority, and educational infrastructure for clergy formation, confirming an institutional framework parallel to that of the Melkite Church. The consolidation of Eastern Catholic churches in the Middle East was further documented through the establishment of formal communication channels with Rome. Letters between Patriarch Cyril VI and successive popes, including Benedict XIII and Clement XII, detail the transmission of synodal decisions, appointments of bishops, and reports on ecclesiastical affairs. These letters, preserved in the Vatican secret archives, form a continuous record of the relationship between the patriarchates and the papacy, confirming that Eastern Catholic churches operated under papal authority while maintaining their liturgical, canonical, and hierarchical distinctiveness. Property and institutional continuity were central to this consolidation. Diocesan records, monastery ledgers, and synodal acts document the administration of ecclesiastical assets, including church buildings, lands, and educational institutions. Papal letters confirm the legal recognition of these holdings, ensuring that union with Rome did not disrupt existing institutional structures. The retention of monastic lands and parish resources was crucial for the operational stability of the Church, providing a reliable foundation for clergy remuneration, charitable activities, and the support of seminaries. Educational infrastructure also played a key role in this period. Seminaries established under patriarchal authority provided formal training for clergy in Byzantine theology, canonical law, and liturgical practice. Synodal decrees and papal correspondence confirmed the establishment and operation of these institutions, ensuring that clergy were competent in both Eastern theological traditions and the requirements of communion with the Roman Pontiff. Records from these seminaries include curricula, faculty lists, and enrollment registers, providing documentary evidence of systematic clerical formation. The 18th century consolidation of the Melkite and Maronite churches also involved canonical codification. Synodal acts preserved in the patriarchal archives of Kirk and Vatican registers document the adaptation of Eastern canon law to formalized structures under papal oversight. These acts codified episcopal election procedures, synodal authority, disciplinary measures, and sacramental administration, ensuring that Eastern canonical practice was preserved while integrated within the broader framework of the universal Church. Papal confirmation of these codes underscores the formal and documented nature of consolidation. By the end of the 18th century, Eastern Catholic churches in the Middle East had established institutional, liturgical, and hierarchical stability. Archival records confirm that patriarchal structures were fully operational, diocesan boundaries clearly delineated, and liturgical practices preserved across regions under union with Rome. The continuity of episcopal succession, synodal authority, monastic governance, and property administration provides verifiable evidence that these communities were fully integrated ecclesiastical entities rather than nominal or symbolic unions. The documentation from this period demonstrates a fully operational model of Eastern Catholicism, providing the administrative and canonical template for later expansions in the 19th century. The 18th and 19th centuries represent a period of systematic expansion and institutional consolidation of Eastern Catholic churches within Central and Eastern Europe, particularly among Ruthenian, Ukrainian, and Romanian communities under Habsburg, Polish, and later Russian imperial influence. These developments were predicated on earlier unions, including the Union of Brest, 1596, and the Union of Uzhhorod, 1646, and involved formalization of diocesan structures, hierarchical authority, and canonical recognition through papal bulls and synodal decrees. Archival evidence from the Vatican secret archives, local eparchial registers, and Habsburg state records provides detailed documentation of the expansion process. Following the initial unions, the Habsburg authorities issued legal decrees confirming the status of Eastern Catholic eparchies within their territories. These decrees, preserved in the Austrian state archives, Haus-Hof, und Staatsarchiv, Vienna, recognized the rights of bishops to govern their dioceses, collect ecclesiastical revenues, regulate clerical appointments, and oversee parish administration. The decrees explicitly affirmed that Eastern Catholic hierarchs operated in full communion with the Roman Pontiff while maintaining canonical autonomy, diocesan boundaries, and liturgical distinctiveness. The legal framework ensured the institutional stability of these communities in both rural and urban regions, facilitating structured growth. The Romanian Greek Catholic Church experienced substantial institutional development during this period. Archival documentation, including the Acta Apostolicae Sedis and episcopal registers from the Metropolitan See of Făgăraș and Alba Iulia, records the formal establishment of eparchies, appointment of bishops, and codification of canonical procedures. Papal bulls issued by Pope Benedict XIV, 1740 to 1758, and Pope Pius VI, 1775 to 1799, recognized these structures and confirmed the rights of the Romanian hierarchy to convene synods, ordain clergy, and oversee diocesan administration. Liturgical practices, including the Byzantine Rite, Church Slavonic language, and regional liturgical customs, were preserved, demonstrating continuity of Eastern ecclesiastical identity within the universal Catholic framework. Similarly, Ruthenian communities in Galicia, Carpathia, and Transcarpathia expanded under Habsburg oversight. Episcopal registers from Lviv, Mukachevo, and Przemysl document the ordination of clergy, the establishment of seminaries, and the maintenance of monastic institutions. Vatican correspondence confirms papal approval of episcopal appointments and synodal decisions, ensuring doctrinal conformity and canonical integration. Property records indicate that diocesan and monastic assets, including lands, churches, and educational facilities, remained under the control of the local hierarchy, providing financial stability and institutional continuity. The 18th and 19th centuries also saw the systematic codification of ecclesiastical governance. Synodal acts, preserved in diocesan archives, regulated the election of bishops, management of parishes, oversight of monasteries, and administration of ecclesiastical courts. These records demonstrate adherence to canonical norms inherited from the Council of Chalcedon and subsequent Byzantine traditions while integrating directives from the Roman Pontiff. Papal bulls explicitly recognize the authority of metropolitan bishops and patriarchs to implement synodal decisions, confirming both the autonomy and the hierarchical legitimacy of Eastern Catholic churches within the broader Catholic communion. Liturgical preservation remained a central concern throughout this period. Service books, lectionaries, and sacramental manuals from eparchial libraries in Lviv, Mukachevo, and Blaj demonstrate continuity in the celebration of the Divine Liturgy of St. John Chrysostom, the Liturgy of St. Basil, and the administration of the sacraments according to Byzantine norms. Regional adaptations, including local chant traditions and calendar observances, were documented in parish registers and sanctioned in synodal decrees. Papal correspondence confirmed the validity of these practices, ensuring that local liturgical identity was maintained alongside full communion with Rome. Monastic institutions played a critical role in the expansion and consolidation of Eastern Catholicism during the 18th and 19th centuries. Archives from monasteries such as Kharkiv, Marimures, and Putna preserve detailed inventories of lands, buildings, and financial assets, demonstrating the preservation of property and institutional resources. Monasteries continued to operate as centers of clerical formation, liturgical practice, and manuscript preservation. Letters from the Vatican and regional synods detail oversight mechanisms for monastic discipline, ensuring consistency with canonical norms and alignment with ecclesiastical objectives. Educational infrastructure also expanded to support clerical and theological formation. Seminaries were established in Lviv, Mukachevo, Blaj, and Oradea, providing instruction in Byzantine theology, liturgical practice, and canonical law. Episcopal and papal correspondence confirmed the curriculum, faculty appointments, and ordination procedures. Enrollment registers, faculty rosters, and graduation lists provide documentary evidence of systematic clerical training, ensuring the continuity of Eastern ecclesiastical identity and the preparation of clergy for pastoral and sacramental duties. The expansion of Eastern Catholicism was facilitated by strategic papal interventions. Bulls and letters issued by Popes Clement XIII, Pius VI, and Leo XII confirmed the rights of Eastern Catholic hierarchs to exercise jurisdiction, convene synods, regulate clergy, and manage diocesan resources. Vatican archives preserve extensive correspondence detailing the integration of Eastern canonical structures with Roman oversight, providing verifiable evidence of institutional expansion. The documentation includes explicit references to diocesan boundaries, episcopal authority, and procedural norms, ensuring a historically precise record of ecclesiastical development. Civil authorities also played a role in formalizing the status of Eastern Catholic churches. Habsburg decrees from the mid-18th century codified the legal recognition of eparchies, granting bishops the authority to oversee clergy, administer sacraments, and regulate parish life. Property rights and ecclesiastical revenues were recognized under civil law, and records from the Chancellery of the Kingdom of Hungary and Galicia confirmed the coordination of church and state recognition. These measures provided stability and legal protection for Eastern Catholic communities, ensuring their integration into the broader political and ecclesiastical landscape. During the 19th century, the Eastern Catholic churches continued to expand through the establishment of new eparchies and dioceses. Archival evidence from Blaj, Mukachevo, and Lviv documents the creation of administrative subdivisions, appointment of auxiliary bishops, and delineation of territorial jurisdictions. Synodal acts and Vatican confirmation letters provide continuous records of episcopal succession and canonical governance. These developments solidified the institutional presence of Eastern Catholicism in both rural and urban regions, embedding it firmly within the ecclesiastical and political structures of Central and Eastern Europe. By the end of the 19th century, Eastern Catholic churches had achieved a fully institutionalized and recognized status with codified diocesan structures, hierarchical authority, liturgical continuity, and educational systems for clergy formation. Papal bulls, synodal records, and diocesan archives provide extensive documentary evidence of the development and institutional integration of these communities. Liturgical, canonical, and hierarchical distinctiveness was preserved while maintaining full communion with the Roman pontiff, demonstrating that Eastern Catholicism had evolved into a structured, autonomous, and verifiable ecclesiastical entity. The 19th and early 20th centuries constituted a period of codification, institutional consolidation, and global recognition for Eastern Catholic churches. These developments occurred across Europe, the Middle East, and newly emerging diasporas in the Americas, Africa, and Western Europe. Archival records, including papal bulls, eparchial registers, synodal acts, and correspondence preserved in the Vatican secret archives, provide a detailed and verifiable account of the period, demonstrating continuity of liturgical, canonical, and hierarchical structures while extending ecclesiastical presence globally. Following the expansion and consolidation achieved in the 18th and early 19th centuries, the Holy See formally codified the status of Eastern Catholic churches as autonomous entities within the Universal Church. Papal documents, notably the bulls of Pope Leo XII, 1823 to 1829, Pope Gregory XVI, 1831 to 1846, and Pope Pius IX, 1846 to 1878, explicitly recognized the rights of Eastern Catholic hierarchs to govern their eparchies, convene synods, and maintain liturgical traditions independent of Latin hierarchical structures. These documents established a precedent for the formal juridical recognition of Eastern Catholic churches, ensuring that canonical particularity, episcopal autonomy, and liturgical integrity were preserved under the oversight of the papacy. In Central and Eastern Europe, Ruthenian, Ukrainian, and Romanian Greek Catholic churches further codified diocesan and patriarchal structures. Episcopal registers from Lviv, Mukachevo, Blaj, and Przemysl document successive ordinations, episcopal appointments, and synodal decrees confirming diocesan boundaries and hierarchical authority. Papal correspondence, including letters from Pope Pius IX confirming metropolitan and patriarchal authority, records explicit recognition of episcopal governance and synodal oversight. These archives provide concrete evidence of institutional formalization, demonstrating that Eastern Catholic churches operated as fully integrated yet autonomous ecclesial entities. Liturgical codification during this period ensured the continuity of Byzantine, West Syriac, and other Eastern rites. Manuscripts preserved in diocesan libraries across Europe and the Middle East document standardized versions of the Divine Liturgy, sacramental rites, lectionaries, and Eucharistic prayers. Synodal decrees formalized regional liturgical adaptations, including local chant, calendar variations, and ritual observances, which were confirmed through papal letters to maintain consistency with Chalcedonian orthodoxy. These codified practices provided a foundation for maintaining distinct Eastern liturgical identities while ensuring doctrinal conformity with Rome. Educational and clerical formation were systematically institutionalized to support the global expansion of Eastern Catholicism. Seminaries established in Lviv, Mukachevo, Blaj, Beirut, and Kirk trained clergy in Byzantine theology, canonical law, and pastoral administration. Episcopal records and papal correspondence provide detailed documentation of curricula, faculty appointments, ordination procedures, and clerical oversight. Enrollment registers confirm the training of successive generations of priests equipped to administer parishes, conduct liturgical services, and preserve Eastern ecclesial traditions in both native regions and emerging diaspora communities. Global recognition of Eastern Catholic churches was facilitated by the migration of communities from Europe and the Middle East to the Americas, Africa, and Western Europe. Archival records from dioceses in the United States, e.g., the Eparchy of Pittsburgh, established 1897, Brazil, Argentina, and Canada document the establishment of parishes, appointment of clergy, and organization of ecclesiastical structures in diaspora contexts. Papal correspondence, including letters of approval from Pope Leo XIII, 1878 to 1903, confirms the canonical recognition of these eparchies and validates episcopal authority over immigrant communities. These sources demonstrate the expansion of Eastern Catholic presence outside traditional territories while maintaining liturgical and hierarchical continuity. The codification of administrative and hierarchical authority was further reinforced through synodal legislation. Synodal acts preserved in diocesan archives regulate episcopal elections, parish administration, monastic oversight, and sacramental discipline. Papal confirmation of synodal acts, often issued through formal bulls or letters, provided legal and canonical authority for these structures, ensuring that governance within Eastern Catholic churches adhered to both Eastern canonical norms and papal directives. These documents establish a continuous, verifiable record of hierarchical organization, confirming the institutional integrity of Eastern Catholic churches during the period. Property and institutional management remained a key component of codification. Monastic and diocesan archives, as well as civil registries in Habsburg, Ottoman, and later European states, document the ownership, administration, and transfer of church lands, buildings, and financial assets. Papal correspondence and state decrees confirm that these properties were legally recognized and remained under the control of bishops or patriarchs. Monasteries continued to operate as centers of education, liturgical practice, and manuscript preservation, ensuring that material and institutional continuity supported ecclesiastical functions. The legal codification of Eastern Catholic churches extended to the recognition of patriarchates, eparchies, and diocesan structures. Papal bulls during the 19th century established formal patriarchal sees for the Melkite Greek Catholic Church, Maronite Church, Chaldean Catholic Church, and others, defining canonical rights, synodal authority, and episcopal governance. These documents provide precise historical records of hierarchical authority, territorial jurisdiction, and operational procedures. Episcopal registers from respective patriarchates confirm successive appointments and ordinations, demonstrating continuity and compliance with canonical requirements. During this period, Eastern Catholic churches also codified methods for communication and oversight with the Holy See. Letters, reports, and petitions preserved in the Vatican archives detail the transmission of synodal decisions, episcopal appointments, and canonical inquiries from Eastern hierarchs to the papacy. These communications confirm that Eastern Catholic churches were integrated into the administrative framework of the Universal Church while retaining autonomy in liturgical, hierarchical, and canonical matters. Documentation from this period demonstrates an established mechanism for maintaining ecclesiastical integrity across diverse geographical regions. The 19th century also witnessed formal recognition of Eastern Catholic churches as distinct entities within canon law. The codification of canonical statutes, preserved in Vatican registers and synodal records, established the legal status of eparchies and patriarchates, defined episcopal and synodal authority, and confirmed the validity of liturgical practices. This codification ensured that Eastern Catholic churches were institutionally independent, yet fully integrated into the hierarchical and doctrinal framework of the Catholic Church, providing a stable foundation for further global expansion. Migration from Europe and the Middle East contributed to the establishment of Eastern Catholic communities globally. Records of episcopal appointments in the Americas document the formation of parishes, assignment of clergy, and recognition of canonical structures in regions including the United States, Brazil, Argentina, and Canada. Papal correspondence confirmed these assignments and provided authority for the establishment of eparchies to serve diaspora populations. Archival records indicate that these communities maintained Byzantine, West Syriac, and other Eastern rites, codified local liturgical adaptations, and adhered to canonical norms, preserving ecclesial identity in diverse socio-political contexts. By the early 20th century, Eastern Catholic churches had achieved a documented global presence, encompassing Europe, the Middle East, Africa, the Americas, and India. Institutional codification ensured uniformity of hierarchy, liturgical practice, and canonical regulation while preserving regional and ritual particularities. Archival sources, including diocesan registers, synodal decrees, papal correspondence, and property records, provide a detailed historical record of these developments, confirming the operational, autonomous, and globally recognized status of Eastern Catholic churches. The convening of the Second Vatican Council, 1962 to 1965, marked a decisive phase in the formal recognition and codification of the autonomy and rights of Eastern Catholic churches within the Universal Catholic Church. The Council issued the decree Orientalium Ecclesiarum, which systematically codified the principles governing the governance, liturgy, and canonical structures of Eastern Catholic churches while reaffirming their full communion with the Roman Pontiff. Historical documentation, including council records, official acts, papal letters, and synodal correspondence, provides verifiable evidence of the integration of Eastern Catholic churches into the modern ecclesiastical framework, establishing both legal and operational authority. The preparation for Vatican II involved extensive consultation between the Holy See and the Eastern Catholic hierarchs. Archival records from the Vatican Secretariat of State and the Congregation for the Eastern Churches document formal submissions, reports, and petitions from patriarchs and bishops of the Melkite, Maronite, Chaldean, Syro-Malabar, Syro-Malankara, Ukrainian, Ruthenian, and Coptic Catholic churches. These documents provided detailed accounts of the administrative, liturgical, and canonical status of each church, including diocesan structures, synodal governance, seminaries, monastic institutions, and pastoral programs. Papal correspondence confirms that these submissions were reviewed systematically, forming the basis for the drafting of Orientalium Ecclesiarum. Orientalium Ecclesiarum, promulgated by Pope Paul VI on November 21, 1964, codified several critical principles regarding Eastern Catholic churches. It confirmed their full autonomy and internal governance, including the right to maintain synodal structures, elect bishops according to traditional procedures, and manage diocesan affairs independently of Latin hierarchies. The decree affirmed the validity of Eastern liturgical rites, including Byzantine, West Syriac, East Syriac, and Alexandrian traditions, and confirmed the use of traditional liturgical languages, such as Church Slavonic, Syriac, Coptic, Malayalam, and Arabic. These provisions were formally recorded in the Acta Apostolicae Sedis and accompanied by papal letters of clarification to patriarchs and metropolitan bishops. The Council further codified the authority of synods within Eastern Catholic churches. Synodal governance was recognized as the primary administrative and legislative body for eparchial and patriarchal decisions, including clergy appointments, liturgical regulation, and disciplinary oversight. Official records demonstrate that synods maintained authority to convene for the election of bishops, confirmation of ordinations, and regulation of parish structures. Papal letters to patriarchs, preserved in the Vatican secret archives, explicitly recognized these synodal prerogatives and provided a framework for interaction with the Holy See, ensuring operational independence while maintaining ecclesial unity. Liturgical autonomy was reinforced during this period. Orientalium Ecclesiarum mandated the preservation and restoration of Eastern liturgical rites in their authentic forms, rejecting the imposition of Latin practices. Documentation from the Vatican Congregation for the Eastern Churches and diocesan archives records efforts to standardize liturgical texts, calendars, and ceremonial rubrics without altering the essential structure or theological content of traditional rites. Seminaries and liturgical schools in Eastern Catholic jurisdictions were instructed to maintain training consistent with these rites, ensuring continuity in clerical formation and public worship. Manuscripts, service books, and lectionaries from the period confirm the historical preservation and standardization of Eastern liturgical practices. Eastern Catholic patriarchates and eparchies also expanded codification of canonical and administrative structures during this period. Episcopal registers, preserved in diocesan archives, record the election and ordination of bishops under synodal authority in full compliance with Orientalium Ecclesiarum. Papal confirmations and letters of appointment, archived in the Vatican secret archives, provide continuous verification of hierarchical authority. Diocesan and patriarchal records document the organization of parishes, seminaries, monastic institutions, and charitable foundations, confirming the operational capacity of Eastern Catholic churches as autonomous entities within the Catholic Communion. The decree and subsequent papal letters also address the relationship between Eastern Catholic churches and Latin dioceses. Vatican documentation confirms that Eastern Catholic hierarchs retained authority over their clergy, liturgy, and canonical affairs, even in territories dominated by Latin dioceses. Papal correspondence explicitly forbade interventions in matters of internal governance unless requested, ensuring that Eastern Catholic churches could exercise jurisdiction according to traditional canonical norms. Archival sources include detailed instructions regarding the administration of sacraments, clergy appointments, and the supervision of religious communities, maintaining both autonomy and ecclesial coherence. The codification of Eastern Catholic rites extended to educational and theological institutions. Seminaries and theological academies were required to adhere to curricula that preserved Eastern theological traditions, canonical law, and liturgical practice. Archival records indicate that seminaries in Beirut, Kirk, Lviv, Mukachevo, and Kerala formalized administrative structures, faculty appointments, and ordination processes in compliance with Vatican oversight, without altering liturgical or theological identity. This documentation confirms the systematic codification of clerical education aligned with Orientalium Ecclesiarum. Papal correspondence during and following the Council confirmed the global applicability of these provisions. Eastern Catholic communities in the Americas, Europe, and Africa were formally recognized as autonomous juridical entities, capable of maintaining diocesan governance, liturgical rights, and canonical administration. Archival evidence includes letters confirming the establishment of eparchies, appointments of bishops, and the formation of ecclesiastical councils in diaspora contexts. These letters provide a continuous record of hierarchical authority, operational administration, and liturgical preservation, demonstrating the global application of the Council's decrees. The Council's codification also addressed the preservation of canonical and hierarchical continuity. Synodal acts, episcopal registers, and papal confirmations document the authority of patriarchs and metropolitan bishops to regulate clergy, conduct synods, and administer sacraments according to Eastern canonical norms. Diocesan and patriarchal archives confirm that these practices were systematically applied in local eparchies, providing operational evidence of continuity, independence, and hierarchical legitimacy. Archival records further demonstrate that the authority of the patriarch or metropolitan was recognized both by the Holy See and local civil authorities, ensuring both ecclesiastical and legal legitimacy. The 1962 to 1965 period also saw the formalization of Eastern Catholic participation in the Universal Church. Vatican records indicate that representatives from all 23 Eastern Catholic churches attended the council sessions, contributed to debates, and submitted detailed reports on liturgy, canonical administration, and pastoral concerns. These reports, preserved in the council acta and secretariat files, demonstrate systematic documentation of ecclesial structures, liturgical practices, and administrative norms, ensuring historical verifiability and continuity with previous centuries of Eastern Catholic development. By the end of the Second Vatican Council, Eastern Catholic churches had secured a legally codified, operationally autonomous, and globally recognized status within the Universal Church. Archival evidence confirms that these churches retained liturgical, canonical, and hierarchical distinctiveness while operating in full communion with the pontiff. By the mid-20th century, Eastern Catholic churches had completed a centuries-long process of institutional consolidation, canonical codification, and liturgical preservation. The period following Vatican II, 1962 to 1965, through the early 21st century represents a historically documented era of operational stabilization, global expansion, and the maintenance of ecclesiastical identity within the Universal Catholic Church. Archival records, papal correspondence, eparchial registers, synodal acts, and diaspora community documentation provide verifiable evidence of the organizational, liturgical, and canonical status of Eastern Catholic churches during this period. By 1965, the 23 Eastern Catholic churches recognized by the Holy See had achieved fully documented operational autonomy. These included the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church, Ruthenian Greek Catholic Church, Romanian Greek Catholic Church, Melkite Greek Catholic Church, Maronite Church, Chaldean Catholic Church, Syro-Malabar Church, Syro-Malankara Church, Coptic Catholic Church, and Armenian Catholic Church, among others. Each church maintained hierarchical structures, liturgical traditions, and canonical practices consistent with its historical development, verified by diocesan and patriarchal records. Vatican archival materials confirm the formal recognition of their governance, liturgical preservation, and synodal authority, codified in the years following Orientalium Ecclesiarum. The Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church, historically based in Galicia and later Ukraine, expanded globally following waves of migration during and after World War II. Diocesan archives in Lviv, Winnipeg, and Philadelphia document the establishment of eparchies, appointment of bishops, and administration of parishes in the Americas and Europe. Papal letters, preserved in the Vatican secret archives, confirm episcopal authority over diaspora communities and the maintenance of Byzantine liturgical rites. Parish registers, seminary records, and synodal decrees provide continuous verification of canonical governance, clerical formation, and sacramental administration, establishing an operationally autonomous structure that maintains historical continuity with the pre-modern Ukrainian Church. Similarly, the Ruthenian Greek Catholic Church solidified its presence in Central and Eastern Europe while expanding into North America. Archival evidence from the Eparchy of Pittsburgh, USA, Mukachevo, Ukraine, and Prešov, Slovakia, documents episcopal ordinations, parish formation, and diocesan governance. Vatican correspondence confirms the codification of canonical procedures, liturgical practices, and synodal authority. Church registers and monastic archives provide additional evidence of the administration of diocesan assets, clerical training, and the standardization of liturgical practice according to Byzantine norms. The Melkite Greek Catholic Church, headquartered in Beirut and Kirk, Lebanon, continued to operate under patriarchal authority recognized by the Vatican. Synodal acts from the Patriarchate of Antioch detail episcopal elections, administrative decisions, and the coordination of parishes throughout Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and diaspora communities in the Americas and Europe. Papal correspondence, including letters from Popes John XXII, Paul VI, John Paul II, and Benedict XVI, confirms the full communion of the Melkite Church while preserving Byzantine liturgy and Eastern canonical procedures. Monastic archives, including those of Balamand and Mar Johanna, provide evidence of operational continuity in liturgical training, clerical education, and ecclesiastical governance. The Maronite Church, centered in Lebanon, maintained a continuous patriarchal lineage and hierarchical structure fully recognized by the Holy See. Records from the Patriarchate of Kirk and diocesan registers document episcopal succession, synodal decrees, and the administration of parishes both in Lebanon and among diaspora communities in the Americas, Australia, and Africa. Vatican correspondence confirms the codification of liturgical rites, canonical procedures, and the governance of educational institutions and seminaries. Archival records also preserve evidence of the Church's historical maintenance of West Syriac liturgy, clerical discipline, and parish administration. In addition to Europe and the Middle East, Eastern Catholic churches established structured communities in India, particularly the Syro-Malabar Church and the Syro-Malankara Church. Archival records from diocesan offices in Ernakulam-Angamali, Trivandrum, and Changanacheri document the administration of eparchies, seminaries, and parishes. Papal correspondence from Popes Pius XII, John XXII, and Paul VI confirms hierarchical authority, canonical governance, and liturgical preservation. Records of parish establishment, ordination of bishops, and synodal decisions demonstrate operational continuity and global ecclesial integration. The Chaldean Catholic Church, historically based in Mesopotamia, expanded operations to diaspora communities in the Americas, Europe, and Australia due to emigration during periods of political instability in the 20th century. Archival records, including parish registers and eparchial correspondence, document episcopal ordinations, parish formation, and the administration of liturgical and educational institutions. Vatican letters confirm canonical recognition of hierarchical authority and synodal governance. These records demonstrate that Chaldean ecclesiastical structures remained historically continuous and operationally autonomous despite geographical dispersal. The Coptic Catholic Church in Egypt maintained hierarchical and canonical structures that preserved the Alexandrian rite while operating under full papal authority. Archival documentation includes episcopal registers, synodal decrees, and papal correspondence confirming the continuity of episcopal succession, parish administration, and liturgical practice. Monastic records from institutions in Cairo and Alexandria demonstrate the ongoing role of monastic centers in clerical formation and liturgical preservation. Eastern Catholic churches also maintained operational global governance structures in line with Vatican directives. The Congregation for the Eastern Churches provided oversight, ensuring compliance with canonical norms while respecting autonomy. Archival records detail coordination between patriarchal synods, eparchial authorities, and Vatican offices, including regular reports on clerical appointments, liturgical administration, and seminary operations. These documents provide continuous verification of institutional integrity and adherence to both Eastern canonical traditions and papal oversight. Migration patterns in the 20th century led to the establishment of Eastern Catholic communities across Europe, the Americas, and Africa. Records from dioceses in France, Germany, Canada, the United States, Brazil, and Argentina document parish formation, episcopal appointments, and the establishment of educational institutions. Papal correspondence and Vatican approvals confirm canonical recognition and hierarchical integration. Parish registers, synodal acts, and diocesan communications provide verifiable evidence of liturgical continuity, administrative oversight, and clerical formation in diaspora settings. Seminaries, monasteries, and educational institutions continued to serve as centers of clerical formation and liturgical preservation. Records from seminaries in Beirut, Lviv, Ernakulam, and Pittsburgh document the training of priests in theology, canonical law, and liturgical practice. Episcopal registers confirm ordinations and clerical assignments, demonstrating operational continuity. Monastic archives record governance, property management, and clerical training, ensuring the historical continuity of Eastern ecclesiastical structures across multiple continents. By the early 21st century, the global presence of Eastern Catholic churches was fully documented and operational. Archival evidence confirms the maintenance of 23 Eastern Catholic churches in full communion with the Roman Pontiff, each preserving its own liturgical, canonical, and hierarchical traditions. Eparchial registers, synodal acts, Vatican correspondence, and diocesan archives document hierarchical governance, sacramental administration, parish oversight, seminary operations, and global integration. Eastern Catholic churches operate across Europe, the Middle East, Africa, India, and the Americas, demonstrating the continuity of Eastern ecclesial traditions in diverse political, social, and cultural environments. The codification and global presence of Eastern Catholic churches provide verifiable historical continuity from early Chalcedonian communities through formal unions in the 16th and 17th centuries, consolidation in the 18th century, codification in the 19th century, to modern recognition and global integration in the 20th and 21st centuries. Archival sources, including Vatican registers, diocesan and patriarchal archives, synodal acts, property records, seminary records, and papal correspondence, establish continuous, historically documented ecclesiastical authority, operational governance, and liturgical preservation.